Rhyen Hunt, and I am a senior, going to be senior at LaSalle College Prep in Pasadena, California.
Cool, cool. Okay. So what event do you do?
I do public forum debate, yes.
Cool. Okay, so let's first talk about your Reddit post. Now,
Yes.
if you haven't read Ryan's Reddit post, then I think that Ryan should be the one to air that in class.
Yeah, for sure. So, essentially, the Reddit post that I decided to write was after the Tournament of Champions this year, and me and my partner Maddie decided to run an argument about feminism in international relations. And the responses people could have responded with were different forms of international relations theories, but instead, a lot of the responses we got were women are weak, or women don't have a place in international relations, or why are we using debate to talk about feminism? And I was really upset by this and kind of struck by, well, why is the community so against talking about issues that really actually affect us? So I decided to kind of call out the community and be like, debaters, like, you need to do better in responding to this, and judges, you need to also not say that these arguments shouldn't be run, because a lot of people and a lot of debaters you for advice. Me and my partner also actually calculated statistics for the Tournament of Champions to kind of figure out how many African American debaters there were, and how many women and gender minorities there were at the tournament, and the results were not great. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so hi, I'm Ryan, the second speaker from LaSalle CH. At the Tournament of Champions this weekend, my partner Maddie and I decided to read an argument about the theory of feminist international relations, because on the post-fiat level of debate, all debaters do is make calculations from a traditional international relations lens, which ignores women's perspectives. We argued on the pre-fiat level because we wanted to shed light on the harsh reality that is public forum debate, that judges, male or female, do not want to vote for any real change in the space. The argument was that we need to shift away the way we view international policy so that we can bring help to people of color and gender minorities. As the only Black female debater at the TOC, being voted down by judges who wanted to prefer nuclear war over raising awareness in the community to the fact that women and people of color and non-binary people are excluded from international policy and debate stung. What hurt more, though, is that teams we hit either tried to shut arguments down by saying it was unfair, or teams called our argument passive and said that women can't fight their own exclusion in fear of the patriarchy lashing back out. Debaters pride themselves on being aware and liberal and woke, but when responses are made by men that enforce gender roles and tell women if we fight against the gender roles that we will face backlash, there is a major problem in this activity that people neglect to acknowledge. This activity is toxic, and people aren't afraid to say that. However, when debaters try and fight against the toxicity, people are so quick to shut them down. If you won't advocate for change in this space in round, then don't claim to be some pro-feminist outside of round. People advocate for women and put Beyond Resolve stickers on their laptops, but when push comes to shove and the ballot is on the line, they suddenly do not care about these conversations anymore. The need for representation of arguments and people in the debate space suddenly gets pushed aside. Men question why we didn't disclose the argument. However, they answered their own question when they targeted us and shared prep-outs to the FemK with each other. Debate is a competitive activity, but there are other ways to engage critically with an argument that did not trivialize the experiences of women. Judges also need to check their behavior. This weekend, we were told by judges that we overestimated the impact of the patriarchy, and that male judges' personal experiences in international relations did not seem like they were patriarchal. When asking a male judge why they didn't believe that FemIR would work, he responded with feminist international theory will not, as it relates to American foreign policy, because it neglects the complicated reality behind traditional IR, implying that women in foreign policy could not be sufficient enough to deal with real-world problems. at the end of the day, this community should be ashamed of themselves. You talk the talk, but a vast majority of you do not walk the walk. This activity is not an equal space for gender minorities, especially gender minorities of color. Do better. This isn't just our experience. The statistics don't lie. There were 5 Black people in the pool, which is 2% of the pool of the Tournament of Champions. Only 2 broke. There was only 1 female Black debater in the pool and 1 woman of color in outrounds. Out of the 92 teams, 42% had at least 1 female presenting individual on them. By round 7, there were no girls guaranteed to break, with 15 female presenting individuals on the bubble. And out of 92 teams, 5.4% with at least 1 female presenting individual broke. The break rate for men is 31%, with 40 male presenting people broke at the TOC, but only 5 female presenting. And there were no girl-girl teams breaking at the TOC.
Wow, yeah, that's a lot. Okay, so yeah, so was there like a specific event that kind of triggered you to write this or motivated you, or was it like,
yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say, or was it just like kind of like settling after everything with the tournament had happened and you realized, oh wait.
So me and my partner had been on the bubble leading up to the end of the back half of all of the prelim rounds, and we had we were hitting this girl guy team, which was already unfortunate because we didn't really want either way. There was going to be less female representation going into out rounds depending on who won the bubble round. And the responses that we got when we decided to read the K were not very great. The responses were, again, like some of the things that I mentioned in the Reddit post, kind of trivializing the experience of women, or saying that we were advocating for, since we were advocating for the affirmative, we were advocating for peace, therefore implying that women can't be aggressive, which wasn't the argument, and the debaters didn't really want to listen. But when it came to the end of the round, the judge ended up voting against us because she didn't understand why she preferred feminism over nuclear war. Mm. But nuclear war isn't actually going to happen because high schoolers, but feminism is something that affects everyone. So it made me and my partner really upset that a female judge was willing to look past impacts that actually affected the debate community. And we didn't get to read this argument in like later out rounds, which probably would have given it more circulation and which would have helped discourse more. But instead we were knocked out by a team that kept reading nuke war. So we were mad.
Yeah, I was going to say that's frustrating, but I like the way you kind of handled things in the Reddit post. Like as a PFer, you said everything with facts. I really like that. I really like that.
Thank you.
What am I going to talk about next? Okay, so has what you experienced, like has this experience as like a Black female debater gonna impact like the way you like carry yourself and approach things at future tournaments?
I think this year has been kind of the whole year, not just the TOC, has been a culmination of me kind of finding how I want to approach the community. I mean, I've been doing debate for a really long time, but obviously, like in high school, you're still trying to figure out how you handle yourself and how you want to present yourself to the world. I think this year I've really realized the underrepresentation of Black female debaters in the debate space, Black debaters in general, but especially female and gender minorities. And that like I know that I want to do moving forward is advocate for that more, and also not be afraid to not like hide my ethnicity, as you will, because I know at a lot of tournaments, when I was starting off, I was told that my curly hair was unprofessional. So then I decided to straighten it for every tournament, and people, I don't know, like it wasn't very in their face, I guess. And I think that being more comfortable in my own skin is definitely a way that, at least like me personally, I can start showing an example for other Black debaters out there that it's totally okay to just be who you are in the space, and that we need to make space for ourselves in the debate community.
I love that. I love that. So if you could say one thing to the judges who, like, as you would say, wronged you, or one thing to, like, the people in charge of running things at NSCA and at these large tournaments, what would you say to them right now?
That's a really good question. I think that I wouldn't necessarily go to say that judges wronged us or like obviously some of the results were really frustrating, but I think that this idea that women are pushed to the sidelines has kind of just always been a thing in our culture, and it's an active mindset to kind of combat that. And I think something that I would say to judges at the TOC that we had is you need to be willing to fight against that type of mindset and kind of reflect on how has the culture around you affected the way that you make decisions, right? Because we can all say that we are feminists, but if our actions don't reflect that, I think that's where the disconnect is. If I were to say something to the NSDA, I would say like keep working hard to figure out different judging materials, because that's honestly going to be a really important place to start, is just fixing how we approach training these adults to judge our rounds and in turn like judge ourselves.
Okay, so I like that. So, like, I guess, like, what you're saying is that we need to start helping judges, like, become more aware of, like, the ramifications of their actions. Got it.
Absolutely.
I like that. Okay, so what advice do you have to give to females or anyone that's like kind of struggling as a debater? Like, what advice would you give to them to combat this? Like, writing
Okay, that's
answer.
that's good. That's good. I think I would say number one, always prioritize your mental health in the activity. Um, but keep fighting. And as much as that might be like cheesy or cliche, I think truly the only way that females ever kind of like keep making an impact and increase our representation in this space is if we keep fighting for it, because it's not going to be handed to us just like it's been handed to men in the space. Like, unfortunately, it's an uphill battle, but I think if we keep fighting that battle, then we're actually going to see some change, which I think that debate is a great activity and it really has given me a voice. And I think we all kind of need to use our voice to keep changing the activity so it includes people better. So I think that's the advice I would give.
Sorry, I lied. One more question. So,
Awesome.
yeah. So, is running Ks like something that you'll continue to do, or are you kind of like scarred from TOC? So, like, oh, sorry.
Um, Honestly, I think I'm more impassioned to run Ks now at other tournaments. I think that, yeah, I think that the TOC obviously, like, it was unfortunate how it ended up turning out, but I think that ultimately it sparked a bigger conversation within the PF community, at least. A couple days after, there have been like people posting like links to progressive debate and people being like, does progressive debate have a space in PF, which I thought was really interesting. But I think that me and my partner, obviously resolutions are fine to debate, but I think that to make debating resolutions okay, we have to debate about how the space affects us as debaters first. And so I definitely think that we'll be running Ks in our senior season for sure.
Well, I'm definitely glad that you brought this up because I feel like it's not something that only applies to PF, but also LD and Congress. And I feel like now that you've like started this conversation, I feel like something can be had, like something can be implemented about it. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you for this interview. Thank you for your time and everything. Hope you have a
Thank you for
great
having me.
whatever the day. Today's Thursday. Yeah. you know?
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.